It's the Boom Bap Hour.
Now, coming up, straight out of right here in Brooklyn,
Yep.
our next guest is an international hip hop sensation whose vibrant sound and razor sharp lyricism have captivated audiences across the globe. Hailing from the streets of BK to stages in Paris and Madrid, he's built a movement that blends ambition, luxury, and real life wisdom. With a signature style that speaks to both the struggle and the celebration of success, he's proven that hip hop has no borders. Please welcome the undeniable, it's Vezz.
It's Vezz. What's up, y'all? Peace, love, understanding. Y'all make a round of applause for the Boom Bap Hour, man. We here, so we appreciate for you to give me this platform so I can have a little bit on insight on me as an artist. I appreciate it.
Word. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And we're so happy to have you on this platform.
Thank you so much.
And, we just try to give love to independent artists.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that we're able to have you on here today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I was just saying a few minutes ago to the staff of the Boom Bap Hour, thank you for having artists like me up here and giving us the opportunity to shine, because there's not a lot of places where we can. So, for you guys to travel from one place to the next, especially in New York, it's one of the hardest places to travel to in New York. You guys made it, and you guys are giving us a platform to talk, give insight, and also give an opinion on, how hip hop is rather today. So, it's a blessing to be here. I appreciate that, and I hope y'all continue strong. And if I can help, I'll help push the word out so other artists could come here as well.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. You just
Absolutely.
don't know how much that's really appreciated.
Absolutely.
Like, for
I'm
real.
appreciative. Yeah, art understand art. So, I'm not shy about it at all.
Word. So, you have like a lot of factors and a lot of layers to you.
Absolutely.
You've described yourself as neo soul, boom bap, and some luxury in there in between. Like,
Yeah.
I love it already, right?
Absolutely.
So, is that how the name for your EP, Solidified, came about?
Yeah. So basically, Solidified came about from, I would just say, kind of just understanding that I wanted to be a little bit more responsible with what I put out there in the world. I believe that, like, understanding lyricism, understanding hip hop is like a superpower, because you have to be able to put it in words where people can understand it in short bursts of sentences, right? So you have to be able to know that, when you're putting these words together, when you're constructing them, it's hitting someone's brain tone. So they're picking up on the things that you say, how you see the world, how you view it, how, your day to day is. The relatability is key. And the relatability causes, like, timeless music. If it's not relatable, then it's kind of like, okay, you're a rapper, but, I've never seen Paris. I've never seen France. I've never seen Mona Lisa. I've never seen a Picasso on the wall. So, tell me your everyday, day to day. How does it confide with me, or how does it coincide with me? How do I exist in your world and still be able to bridge the gap between the relatability? So my main thing was that with Solidified, I wanted to create a vibe where, it's heartfelt, grassroots, it's understandable to point. Things that I've gone through, betrayal, or, just having these obstacles in life. I wanted to put it in a way where it wasn't a strong message, or it wasn't too strong of a message. Sometimes, you have to kind of sneak it in a little bit and give people insight on who you are. So, I created it in a way where, like, after a long day of work, you come home and you can hear it. Or if you got to get up in the morning, you got to move and shake. You want to be able to turn me on and get able to get the way you got to go. And it's game time, it's fourth quarter, put me on, and then, you should be able to get that, like, yeah, I understand where he was coming from now. So that's
Right.
kind of how I have it, yeah.
So it's going to give you that vibe to just
Yeah.
like motivate you. Like if
Absolutely.
you put on in the morning, or if you're
Absolutely.
winding down, or whatever it is, you're going to be able to relate to it no matter what.
Absolutely. Well, and then also too, like I said, responsibility is key, right? Anytime you create an art, responsibility is key. So what I did in actually the whole thing was that I didn't curse not one time. I only said ass. That was my only, like, curse out of the whole thing. I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could, like, hit a broader audience. I didn't want to, like, curse too much, because I didn't want to throw the listener off from what I was saying. I wanted to create a clear message so it's clear to them, and it's not, again, it's not too harsh of an image. It's more, or harsh of a message. Is more of a thing of, like I said, the relatability, being able to gravitate towards the everyday lifestyle.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, I also saw you have a single called Before I Was, right?
Well, that's the EP.
It's an EP,
It's a
Before
whole
I
EP.
Was.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did that name come about? Because that sounds like a story. Like, like it's Before I Was ... Like what to expect next after that.
So Before I Was pretty much like an EP that I had. It was a mix of old songs that I had just sitting out. They were either singles or I just put them straight to video on YouTube.
Okay.
So what I did was I just combined everything and then just put it on the EP and then I just released it. But it was more of these songs was out before I actually found my self-identity through hip hop. So these were things I was just trying out. These were songs I was trying out. These were songs that I kind of didn't know where I was going to put them or how they would, where they would go in certain projects. So I just had them sitting around. So I was like, I got solidified out. I could try Before I Was, and it'll give people a taste of what I was trying to accomplish and do before I got into, where I'm into now, which is the neo soulful luxury, kind of the truth telling type aspect of my lyricism.
So when you say, when you found your identity in hip hop, that's pretty much where you found like it resonated with you.
Right. I mean, more so, it's just old. It's just an old way of me. Like, it's just a way of me shedding skin. Shedding that old scared and frightful and anxious, kind of style is more like me. Like, okay, when I made Solidify, it was more like, okay, this is the hill I'ma die on. Before I was more like, okay, I was testing things out at this point in my life. So, I want to be able to put that out there in the world because I wasn't always Vezz or I wasn't always this Vezz. I was always just, trying to just a rapper, just trying to figure out, just an artist trying to figure it out. So that's what it was for me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, so your music obviously resonates internationally, right? Like we just talked about the Paris, the Madrid, the Atlas. So like, what do you think it is about your sound that resonates and connects with, listeners across cultures?
Well, one thing I decided to do, and I'll give a little backstory on this, and then this will help explain everything, right? So, I had to go through a bit of soul searching, meaning that I had to kind of reset my mind. So, I think I could speak for all parties, if not most parties in this room. We've all been through a sense of trauma in one way or another, bad relationships with our families or bad breakups or just not learning how to read finances or just issues with school or whatever may have you. And it was a point in my life where I was just kind of going through the confusion, just trying to figure out who or what I was. So, I had a friend, he came to me, he gave me like a list of books to read. Pretty much he told me everything, like, what the reality of the situation is in the world, what's going on across the world, what's going on, with us, especially as Black people, especially as Black Americans who are here, who founded America or who helped found America or really founded and was able to build and on the culture that we had to create out of soul necessity because we had disconnected from the diaspora that we came from. So I read a lot of Malcolm X. I read a lot of like Black history books, everything. Kwame Nkrumah, Malcolm X. I've learned about James Baldwin, things like that. So what ended up happening with me was when I was reading these books, I had a sense of identity. Like, wow, look at all my Black leaders. They did this before I got here. This is me. And I feel the compassion in the story and where Malcolm X might be coming from or where Kwame Nkrumah may be coming from or where James Baldwin might be coming from or Maya Angelou, so on and so forth, Dick Gregory. And what I did was I wanted to create something where everybody feels it. Because at the end of the day, without skin tone or skin color, who are we? We just regular human beings. So I wanted to create something where it's felt all across the world because there's at least I feel that there's a few things that the human kind, craves. And one of it is peace, So I try to create, music where it's peaceful, where it doesn't just resonate with one group of people, but it resonates all over the world. Because even despite the fact of what's going on with us here, there has to be somebody else across the seas who's going through the same thing or having those questions of what else is out there for me or, how do I change the world in a better way? How I look at my music is, how do I make the world a better place than when I got it? I want to leave it a better place, but how do I make it a better place while I'm here? So one thing I like to do with my music is just say, at the end of the day, for me, I want to be able to reach over and touch a shoulder on someone and say, yo, you're not the only person going through it. I'm going through it with you so as well, but it means that much more when I'm going through everything, when I'm writing lyrics down. I'm just very careful about how I put things together because I want more people, especially outside of my comfort zone or especially outside of what I'm used to, which is my Black people, to come together and be like, okay, I understand this point. I understand what he's trying to do. Let's try to create peace. Peace don't know no color. Peace just only know, functionality and frequency. So
Right.
yeah,
And that's a beautiful thing that, if you really can do that,
yeah,
just bring people together,
yeah,
I mean, like how powerful is that,
yeah,
to just really be able to do that? Because there's a lot of things going on right now in the world, a lot of
yeah,
division
yeah,
just everywhere. So, I
yeah.
mean, for you to be able to do that is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, well, I tell people all the time because I go to open mics and I'm all over New York as far as like the open mics is concerned. I just did 2 open mics. I did Sissy McGinty's in Queens, and then I did the Locksmith Bar out there in Washington Heights, and I was able to resonate with 2 different groups of people. So a lot of people ask me, how did you get to the level of writing that you got into? I say you got to be able to look into your trauma and you got to be able to face it. I think a lot of people, when they hear hip hop, they hear about the chains, the cars, and the jewelry, and the contract signing, and the sneakers, and the money. But you got to be able to look into your trauma because your story is one of a kind. If you can't figure out to chop your story up into different pieces and give it to the world, how are you? How can I relate to it? So I think a lot of people ask me, well, how do you do it? And I'm just like, look, you got to be able to look into yourself. You got to be able to really look into yourself and say, look, a lot of that stuff that happened to me wasn't my fault. And you got to be able to just tell your story and break it to pieces and give it to the people who need it. Because there's somebody, if they didn't already go through it, there's somebody who's going through it now. And your music might be saving somebody's life. That's deep.
You are so right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you think about trauma,
Mhm.
I mean, you do have to say, at a certain point that, it wasn't that person's fault, be able to really,
Right.
and really mental health is something that we all need, especially, your message
Yeah.
is that more important,
Mhm.
especially to, Black men, because
Yeah.
they go through it. And a lot of times they don't feel like it's safe to
Mhm.
come forward and say anything, and it's
Right.
affecting their lives every day.
Yeah.
Hurt people.
Right.
So to be able to, recognize that trauma and, listen to your music and be able to recognize that,
Right.
that's wonderful.
Well, and again, and I don't want to make it like it's dreadful. It's not a dreadful interview. The point I'm trying to make is like as long as you recognize who you are and you recognize where you came from and you recognize where you want to go, your music could be fun. And I think the biggest problem is that the reason why music isn't fun is because we're trying to set a standard. But the problem is that who set that standard? I want to meet the person who set the standard. How you gonna tell me to do trap and that's selling, but what if I don't want to do trap? What if that's not my thing? Or what if I don't want to do drill music? What if that's not my thing? I want to talk to the person who set the standard because like I said earlier, there's a lot of talented artists in New York, but unfortunately, New York has fell behind in music making. So we have so many artists that's out there in the streets of New York. You can literally point at one and he's 9 out of 10 times he's an artist. But are we really giving each other the chance? Not someone else giving them the chance, but are we really giving each other the chance to grow and help each other be heard? Every time I go to an open mic, one thing I do is I share everybody's content. I put it on my stories on Instagram. I don't own Instagram. So, my whole thing is I share it. I put it up there because I want people to see that there's other talent out there as well besides me. So I'm all about sharing is caring and making sure people know about, this artist is dope. Y'all look out for him. Because, y'all already know I'm dope, but what about the other artists that's trying to get on? If we all try to come together and build some type of camaraderie, New York hip hop could definitely be what it needs to be again.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. And I mean, that's so great that you actually go out and share people's music and share everybody's content. I mean, as an independent artist yourself, what do you feel like is the biggest, roadblock or the biggest issue that independent artists is like, facing right now?
Like I said, gatekeeping. It's the gatekeeping of the corporate world, the corporate music world that is not allowing us to flourish and try different things. Unfortunately, like I said, it's a standard that we're all trying to chase instead of trying to build our own standard. I remember back in the 90s, and I was a kid, I was a kid in the 90s, but I remember back in the 90s, you had people like, Mr. Humpty who had the mask on,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Or you had Nas who was using like, into rhyming patterns and stuff like that. You had Rakim who had the Mercedes Benz chain. You had Queen Latifah with the full, African dashiki suit with the crown on. You had Lisa Left Eye Lopez with the patch and the left eye and everything. I think the biggest problem is that the creativity is, it's not about the skill, but it's about more of the creativity and the expansion of the imagination. How far can I drive my image, or how far can I go just being me, being in my own world, that people will eventually come into it and really see where I'm trying to go with it, And I think that, the creative aspect, letting the artists be creative as possible, is really lost. Because when you try to set a standard on things, now everybody's going to this one thing. Like, you don't work a 9 to 5 and 5 people are fighting for the same position. It doesn't work like that. Eventually everybody breaks off into their own thing. So, not everybody could be the CEO, but everybody could be their own boss in their own right if they all go in their different directions. So, I believe that, we have to stop we have to stop putting ourselves in, we have to stop holding a gun to our heads thinking like, if I don't make it tomorrow, because I don't sound like this. I think that's just kind of unfair, because it takes away from the artist who's giving you the talent, who's giving you that creative juices, be up all night writing. And then the next day, I got to record it and put it out. So it takes away, and gatekeeping is one of the harshest things that we're experiencing right now as New York artists.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's why it's so important for, platforms for people to express themselves and really be the artists that they are, and, be able to showcase that talent to the world. Now, here's a question. Why did hip hop choose you?
I'm not stuck on the question. I just want to make sure I answer it correctly, because
It's no correct answer. It's whatever it is that you
why
feel.
did hip hop choose me? I think it's beyond hip hop. I want to say the Almighty chose me. The Almighty chose me to do it, because to speak a dialect, like I said earlier, to speak a dialect and being able to give it to the people where people can understand it is a blessing in itself. That's almost you're almost a prophet in a way, right? When Tupac was alive, right? We looked at Tupac and said, "Oh my God, he's beyond his years. He's a prophet." I look at artists, as prophets, because they're able to tell stories and give it to the world. So I don't want to say hip hop chose me. I think hip hop is just the form of where is an art and where I can express myself. But I think the Almighty chose me, because the Almighty knows that, words are powerful. If you look at Malcolm X, words are powerful. He ain't never struck nobody down on camera, but he talked and they killed him. So you got to understand at the end of the day that when you're powerful with words, you can change, you can shake stuff for real. So I think the Almighty chose me because I've been able to move people with my words. I've had supporters call me crying, "Yo, your art, you rap like I've never heard this before." And to me, that means a lot, because it's like, again, I don't know what I'm doing in your life, but thank you for even including me in that, for me to help you get out your bed and get through your day to day. But the Almighty chose me because I understand dialect, I understand words, and my story is my story, but it resonates to everybody, who's going through the same struggles or have gone through the same struggles that I have.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. And that is so powerful. So
Yeah.
what's next for you in 2025?
Well, right now I got a few things I'm working on. I'm working on a secret EP right now. I really don't have a name or title to it, but it's a secret EP that I'm actually going to do as a double feature when Solidify 2 comes out. So I'm working on Solidify 2 right now. Solidify 2 is done. I got to send it out to Seattle so that way it could get mixed and mastered, so that way they could send it back, and then I could get the final prints on it, give it a final run, and then I could give it out to the world. So I'm trying to have it at least in the middle of spring, if not early summer.
Okay.
Try to get it out there. It's a mix of like, party music but lyricism, and there's also a mix of like that what's behind the curtain. So I'm giving you the curtain, like, yeah, but what's behind that? What am I thinking while I'm escaping these parties, or what am I thinking about when, I'm in the middle of being in the zone, being in the mix with different people. So it's kind of like it's a double-sided type of thing. So Solidified 2 is coming out. I got the secret EP that I'm working on that's coming out. I'm actually trying to set up my own podcast as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we got to come and make an appearance then, like, no brainer.
I'm trying to set up my own podcast as well. That might take a little bit more time because there's a lot more planning that we have to do. But, eventually, the reason why I'm going in that route is because you know, music is music. It'll never leave you if you love it that much, if you let it go and it'll come back to you, right? But then also in a way as well, somebody's got to take the hit and say, hey, music is kind of, my forte, but I also want to try to do something else to help uplift and bring in a new generation of artists. We've seen musical revolutions before, from Jimi Hendrix all the way up to Tupac, Big, even Nas. So, the question now becomes, yeah, we have all of this talent and we have all of these great artists in New York, but, where else can they go to just have a talk and just get to know them? And being the fact that I'm an artist who understands that wholeheartedly 100%, we need a place and we need a hub where we could come together and, we could talk and get more faces. And, you ain't got to wait 6 months to breathe, to come back. You can come back whenever you feel like it. So we're definitely working on that right now.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome for you.
Absolutely.
I see it already. Yes.
I'm working on it, but it's going to take a little bit of time, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, definitely just keep us updated. And
Absolutely.
where can everybody find, website, social media, all of that?
Absolutely. All right. So if y'all go on my Instagram, is ITS_VEZZ. We in the building. You can also go on my YouTube, same thing, ITSVEZZ. I'm on YouTube. You can also go on my Instagram and click my Popple page. And you click my Popple page, it'll give you my merchandise. It'll give you my YouTube, my Instagram. It'll give you my Facebook fan book page, and it'll also give you my donation page in case you want to donate. And it'll also give you my EPs, like my Solidified EP, Before I Was EP, and other interviews that I've had on other platforms as well. Y'all can feel more than free to explore that and reach out. And also, I'm not one of those guys that's like, I'm a rapper and I don't want to talk to nobody. Nah, jump in the inbox, because I always talk to everybody who gets in my inbox all the time. The first thing I do is I just send out my work so people can know, what I do. But just having those deep conversations with just random people. Like, we talking about people from Mississippi. I have a supporter in Japan right now. That's kind of crazy to me, because I wanted to go to Japan. And he brought Japan to me, man. And it was just really dope because I had a chance to talk to him. He doesn't speak good, not a lot of English, but we translate talk. So, I talk to him, he talks to me. He's like, yo, man, I love your music. I'm telling people about it in Japan right now. And I'm like, oh, thanks. So
That is so dope.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for coming.
Absolutely.
You can come back anytime.
Absolutely.
And, we just enjoyed having you here today.
Absolutely. And I also want to shout out the Boom Bap Hour. Yeah, again, y'all are giving artists a platform to come up here and do what we do. We appreciate that so much. And, we'll try to help any way we can to make sure that, everybody know about the Boom Bap Hour. Y'all doing the music community, hip hop community, a great service by allowing us to have this platform and come up here and talk. It's not a lot of platforms out here that allow us to do this. So, please, I'm gonna pray for y'all, pray to the Almighty that y'all keep going and y'all keep moving forward. And allow more artists to come up here, because there's more artists that need to be heard. There's more artists that need to be, put the spotlight on, so we all, one hand wash the face, both hands, one hand wash the other, both wash the face. So it's all about making sure that the artists, we try to get as many artists as possible, man, because it's a musical revolution is happening soon. I can feel it, but we need more people that's going to be out there on the forefront to help bring us into that new life of hip hop.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You heard it here first, okay? Give it up for It's Vezz.
Yeah, we out here. What's up, y'all?
We out. It's the Boom Bap Hour. Peace.
Yes.
That was dope.
Yeah,
thank you
thank you.
so much.
No problem.
The kind
no problem.
words were.
Nah,
well
absolutely.
appreciated.
I'm
Thank
always
you.
going. Oh, I ain't even do my shout outs.
Oh, honestly, well, because he actually got you doing a shout out in the very beginning.
No, but I want to do
another.
my own team shout out, my own people that I
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you still rolling?
Oh,
all right.
cool.
All right. I want to give a couple of quick shout outs real quick. First and foremost, I want to shout out. None of them, it's not more important than the next. So if I shout y'all out in this order, please don't get mad. It's just the names that I'm thinking of at the time, okay? So shout out to my man, Nigma. He's actually doing his own brand of having, talent come up on his platform. Shout out to Nuri. He's from Brooklyn, but he lives right now in South Carolina. Y'all make sure y'all go check his music. Also go check Nigma's music as well. Akaida in general, and Quote DMC. It's so many artists out there. You also have Akila K, who's out there doing her thing. Or the battle rap community, because I came from that as well. Special shout out to your boy Clip because he actually shot my Bar Vader freestyle. So shout out to him. He actually did that. Shout out to Johnny Floss. Shout out to JD the Kid. Oh man, like it's just so many people. But shout out to them. Keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. And let's bring forward this musical revolution. Facts.
Peace.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you so much.